I grew closer to Rosa after that. We both sat down and talked to one another about our families, openly for a change. We could be ourselves with each other, no hiding behind a mask of normalcy. Like me, she'd been diagnosed with antisocial behavior as a young child, and like me, she'd done her best to hide that. We still hung out with the boys, though, and we continued to check out places that were supposed to be haunted.
"Got a place for you,"
Daniel said one evening.
"My cousin told me about it, said it was worth considering."
"Yeah?" Blair asked, but his voice was devoid of the usual interest. He hadn't been the same since we'd all shot down the idea of going to the asylum to check it out, but I wasn't about to change my mind just to make him happy.
"That old school for the deaf,"
Daniel replied.
"They used it for a hospital, too. It's bound to have something there, I figure."
Fuck it. Let's go," Blair said, but it was so non-committal. I looked at Rosa, who just rolled her eyes at Blair's attitude. "If he thinks I'm going to change my mind and go with him to that fucking asylum, he's crazy," she murmured. "Same," I murmured back, getting into Daniel's car. It only took about 20 minutes to get there, so we sat around in the little park area nearby until it was dark. I watched Blair while we were waiting. There was definitely something wrong with him. He kept looking around and almost snorting, as though he were completely disgusted with all of us. At dark, we all made the short trek up the hill to the abandoned school. It was a long, brick building, set on the edge of some kudzu-infested woods. The windows had been covered in corrugated tin at one time, but now half of them were either missing or ripped off. The ones that were left looked like they had been punched out from the inside, but not by anything remotely human. The clear indent of a fist in one of them was a good 2 feet across. Blair suddenly ran up the front steps and started beating on the door.
"Yo, anybody home in there?"
he yelled. "Wakey, wakey!"
"Blair, man, what the fuck are you doing?"
Daniel hissed. "Yeah, you're gonna get us caught," Rosa added, glaring at him. "Fuck you!" Blair spat, glaring at all of us in turn, and in that moment, he didn't look like Blair. "Bunch of goddamn losers are what you are. Happy to explore these little pussy locations, but won't go to a fucking real one. Fuck you, I'm out of here." The three of us watched as he stalked off down the lane back to the little park. "Come on," I expressed. "Let's see what we can find here." Rosa had her mom's Polaroid camera with her, in her purse, and she pulled it out to take a few photos of the windows. She handed the pictures off to me to hold on to, so I looked through them as they developed. I didn't see much in the first couple, but then... "Guys, someone tell me what this is," I said, staring at the last photo she'd taken. There was a gray, shadowy figure in the window, but I couldn't quite make out what it was. We were all standing there near the door, trying to make out what the fuck was in the photo when... something slammed against the front door and made us all jump back.
"The fuck was that?"
Daniel asked, staring at the door. "Blair, what the hell did you do?" I muttered, nervous. I didn't know what was on the other side of that door, and I wasn't sure we should find out. We were all standing there, still staring at the door, when something slammed against the door again, hard enough to make the wood bow slightly and flecks of paint fly. And then we heard a roar. That was incentive enough for us, and we promptly turned tail and raced back down the hill to where Daniel had parked the car. "What was that?" Rosa asked, breathless, when we were back in the car. I don't have any idea, but I'm pretty sure Blair pissed something off beating on the goddamn door like he did, I answered.
Dude's got anger issues, Daniel muttered.
The change in Blair had been a little creepy, if I had to admit it. The expression on his face that night had made him look like a completely different person, and I didn't like it. I wondered if he was on drugs. God knows there were plenty of dealers at the high school who would get you anything you wanted, for a price. Blair's mom had money, I knew, and she lavished it on her son in turn. Summer eventually came to an end, and we all found ourselves back in the grind again. Junior year. We weren't fresh meat anymore, nor were we stuck in limbo like sophomores. Juniors had a lot more leeway, less stress too. We'd already proven ourselves to the class ahead of us, so they weren't inclined to pick on us anymore. Mom started letting me drive to school, since she got home in enough time for me to get there, and I'd get home well before time for her to go to work. It was nice not to have to ride the bus, I admit, and I liked her car besides that. Mom had a 1972 Corvette Stingray, black on black, with a manual transmission. And it's weird, because at the time, I didn't realize the car was anything special. To me, it was just a pretty car that I occasionally got to drive. Anyhow, driving that car to school earned me some brownie points with the seniors who were car guys, and even a few of the teachers as well. I was very, very careful with Mom's car. I parked away from everyone else, the longer walk outweighing the risk of getting her baby scratched or dented. It was a couple of weeks into the semester when I rounded a corner to find Blair talking to Daniel. Blair had an intense look on his face, almost crazed. Daniel looked a little worried. Carefully, I crept closer, using the lockers as a shield to hide behind, so that I could try to hear what they were talking about. "Dude, come on," Blair said. "I've been. It's nothing."
I just don't think it's safe,
Daniel told him. "I'll give you $1,000 if you go with me," Blair stated. Daniel looked down for a moment and sighed.
Yeah, okay, but you'd better be good for it, asshole.
See, Daniel lived with his daddy, since his mama died of cancer back 4 years ago. His daddy had moved them to our town to try to start over, and, well, they were poor. So I understood why Daniel had agreed to go wherever Blair wanted him to go for that amount of money, but I still worried about where he wanted him to go. Later that day, I caught up with Daniel in the school library. "You all right?" I asked, noting his pinched look.
Yeah, I'm fine,
Daniel replied.
I've got some stuff to do for Dad this weekend, so I'll have to catch you on Monday, okay?
Yeah, sure, I murmured, knowing he just told me a lie, but what could I do? Rosa walked out with me at the end of the day, and I relayed the whole conversation, plus Daniel's brushing me off to her. Her brow furrowed and she sighed. "I don't know, Vanessa. This is bad business, I think," she told me. "I don't know what Blair's deal is, but I don't trust it, you know? We've got to find a way to keep Daniel from going with him," I said. "Well, here he comes, so let's see what happens," she murmured, looking across the lot to Daniel. When he walked up to us, I gave Rosa a worried look and she smiled up at Daniel. "So Daniel, I was thinking of throwing a little party this weekend," she began. "Mama's going to her sister's and I'll have the place to myself until Sunday evening. You want to come?"
Can't,
he replied tersely and started past us to his car. "You can't go, Daniel," I said clearly, and he whipped around to give me this half-angry, half-fearful look.
Yeah? Well, are you gonna pay our rent for this month? Pay the light bill and the water? Buy our goddamn groceries? He demanded. Dad got laid off for 2 weeks, Vanessa. I don't see that I have any other options.
Fuck, I swore, running a hand through my hair as he stalked off to his car to get in and leave. Rosa touched my shoulder. "We tried, Chica," she murmured. "Daniel's a big boy. He can handle himself." Mom was off that weekend, and as we were getting ready to head out for dinner, she wanted thigh, which was fine by me. She gave me a worried look. "Hey," she murmured. "You okay?" "No," I admitted, and told her everything. I told her about Blair's obsession with the state asylum, how he'd flipped on us at the school for the deaf, and then what I'd heard in the hallway. "I'm scared, Mom. For both of them." She sighed, running a hand through her thick, dark hair. Her gray eyes were darkened when she looked back over at me. "I would be too if I were you," she admitted. "When I was your age, a group of us drove down there. We went at dusk, right before nightfall, but it was still an unpleasant place to be. Those old buildings. They've seen a lot of bad shit, Vanessa." She paused, turning onto the highway to head into town. "There's something bad in there. It's something you can just feel standing outside. No good ever came from that place. Not ever." She tried to keep my mind off things that weekend, and I appreciated her efforts. We went hiking, we browsed the flea markets, watched old movies. She even let me drink with her. Rosa called a few times also, just to check in with me. I could hear the worry in her voice too, though. Monday morning saw me driving into a very somber parking lot. All the other kids, even some of the teachers, were just kind of milling around like they didn't know what to do. Parking Mom's vet in the usual spot, I got out and headed to the building. "Vanessa, I'm so sorry," Mrs. Green said, walking up to me with tears in her eyes. "Those poor boys." My heart stopped beating. "What boys?" I asked. "You haven't heard?" she countered, looking shocked. "Oh dear. Blair McKinnon and Daniel Murphy were killed in a car crash last night, honey. Since y'all were so close, I figured someone would have told you." My whole world fell out from under me, and I hit the asphalt in a dead faint. I came to at the hospital, with Mom sitting beside me in tears. "Mom?" I got out and dissolved into helpless tears. Feeling her embrace me tightly, I clung to her and sobbed. I sobbed until my throat was raw, until I almost threw up. "This isn't happening," my mind echoed numbly. "We can't die. Not like that." But they had. Blair had been driving. Toxicology reports had found nothing in his system, so that ruled out driving under the influence. They'd been coming back from that damned place, as I had already known, and Blair had been going too fast for the roads. The report said they estimated he was going in excess of 120 miles per hour when the vehicle left the road and struck the tree. They were both killed instantly. Poor Mr. Murphy, driven by grief, had confronted Mrs. McKinnon at the morgue, screaming that her boy had killed his, and he hoped she could sleep at night knowing that. Police had to come escort him out before he physically attacked her. There would be no funeral for Daniel, as his dad was having him sent back to where they were from to be buried in the family cemetery. I hated that I wouldn't get to say goodbye to him, but it was out of my hands. Blair's funeral was that Wednesday, and since Mom was off, she went with me for support. Stepping into that funeral home was surreal to me. I half expected Blair to jump out from behind something and yell, "Ha! Gotcha!" I still didn't want to believe he and Daniel were gone, but one look at Mrs. McKinnon sobbing by a closed casket drove everything home for me. "I'm so sorry, Jen," Mom expressed, hugging Blair's mom. "If I can do anything for you, call me, please." I was next to hug Mrs. McKinnon, and as she hugged me back, I caught sight of the casket beside us. My friend is in there, my mind echoed, feeling hollow. My friend is in there, and I'll never talk to him or see him again. "Vanessa, Blair left something for you, honey," Mrs. McKinnon told me. A letter or something, lying on his desk. I didn't bring it with me because I didn't know if you'd come or not." "It's fine," I told her. "I can come by when you're ready." Throughout the service, I kept feeling like someone was staring at me, but a discreet look around showed nothing. "Why don't you just take the rest of the week off, to give yourself some time to deal with this?" Mom suggested as we were heading home from burying Blair. From what one of the teachers there said, they're not going to be doing any testing the rest of this week, and students who are close will be allowed to make up for whatever they miss. I nodded dully. "Yeah, maybe I should," I muttered.